And welcome to I Drink and I Know Things. Yeah, we haven't been around much lately, but we're back. Hopefully for good. We'll see how that goes. Um, First off, a new poster for Star Trek Picard came out. We'll be taking a look at that. And second, I'm sure the Democrats have fucked up in the past week and a half that I've been missing, and we should probably talk a little bit about that. Besides, didn't Iran try and fuck with the British, and they actually had a backbone for once?
What do you mean, the British had a backbone for once? Aren't you being a little bit brutal?
No.
Yeah, well, I'm a little fucking irritable right now.
No, it's true. We haven't had a backbone for a while. Maybe Boris will change this, but
Well, I mean, the one thing that the UK seized an Iranian tanker. This is last week or so. The Iranians promised to punish the British. They initially attempted to attack a tanker, or a British warship intervened, and the British said, "You know what? We've had enough of this crap," and they started plussing up their forces in the Gulf. They're now moving in a third or a fourth ship into the area, warship.
Yeah, so, there won't really be, a conflict until the Americans show up.
I don't know, but it looks like the Iranians may have seized a tanker, claiming that it was in distress. We'll see how that plays out. So,
I'm sure it fucking was in distress. It was being taken by the Iranians.
Well, they claimed that it sent out a distress signal, and that they were responding, and they towed it to the port so that they could fix the distress signal, probably to make sure that another one never comes from those people again. They'll fix it by ensuring that crew is never seen again. So we'll see what happens. But apparently 20% of all the world's oil traffic goes through the Gulf of Hormuz, which is what they're trying to shut down. So we'll see.
Yeah. Last I heard, they wanted to mine it, right?
Well, if they try to mine it, all hell will break loose. If they try an actual, just to mine just try and block it off with a blockade of mines. The problem with doing that is the U.S. has enough ships there to sweep it very quickly. So, and of course, by doing that, they would be doing it into international waters, at which point, the United States and the rest of the world would step in, actually. So they got to be very careful.
Exactly how that would go. It'd be like this, right? It'd be, Durka, look come on, and that would be the end of Iran.
Well, I don't know about all that. I mean, no, at least you get to see the bombs coming.
Yes, I don't think you'd have much chance getting the way out of a 50-kiloton warhead, but
you go out on the small side if you're going for a 50-kiloton warhead rather than a megaton or so.
Okay, let's go MC's way and blow a hole in the planet. Yes, we always needed a hole right there, so we did, yes. Fill it with water.
Well, no, and taking a look at the chat. Hi, Jensen. Hey, Aunt Jack. Hey, Tina. Thank you for the like. And thanks for stopping by. Yeah, no, and hopefully we're back to the regular schedule. We'll see. But yeah, no, the whole Iran thing seemed to have, it had ratcheted up quite rapidly, and now it's kind of on the back burner, right? And simmering again.
Well, from the U.S. perspective, it's simmering simply because people are ignoring it. The Iranians, of course, are still fuming over it. They're still having their own internal issues. But when Trump didn't attack them, it took a lot of wind out of their sails, and it took away a major portion of their talking points internationally. So for them to continue with the way they're going to have to ratchet it up now, they're going to have to try and create a conflict. And it's going to come. It's going to happen. the thing that a lot of people don't want to recognize is the fact that the Iranians they will not stop. They're not going to stop. This is their modus operandi. If you just ignore them, they will do something to make sure that they don't get ignored. That's just who they are.
Yeah, no, and even if they're even forcing the issue with the British, they're going to have a bad time, because if the British can do one thing, it's fucking sail some ships, right?
Yeah. Well,
it's like this, with the way things currently are in the Empire, the only thing we could really do is, stop selling them tea.
Well, and on the campaign trail, Joe Biden seems to be taking a lot of heat. What's going on there?
Oh no, right now, Joe Biden is a secondary character. Are you kidding me? Joe Biden, he's hit a floor, right? But he's not. I mean, he had made his other statements and so forth. He's tried to rebound with several things, but it just looks like it's pandering. He made a stupid statement recently about, if you like your insurance plan, you can keep your insurance plan. All right, when he was talking about a healthcare issue, his idea of a healthcare plan. So I mean, he continues to say stupid things, but he's being ignored. He isn't even on the in the rearview mirror at this point.
Well, he is a fucking white male.
Well, no, that was so stupid. Even Obama face palmed.
Yeah, it was not one of his. That statement of his was just dumb. I mean, it wasn't going to. It won him no friends. All right. It didn't put any distance between them, and unfortunately, the rest of his party is defining who he is. All right, which it's about time that these people get defined who they actually are, and they're trying to run away from it. Right now, what's going on? The Democrat running for presidency. Their group. They're not even front page news right now. You'd be lucky if they even make the news.
Yeah, that's bad too, because to even have a chance, they have to get out there.
Yes, and the people this hurts the most, the people who are getting hammered the most right now because of the lack of news stories and everything about it, is the second and third tier candidates, right? As much as I dislike them and I think that their people are wrong, this basically is the end of the campaign for Tulsi Gabbard. It's the end of the campaign for Beto O'Rourke. It's the end of the campaign for Andrew Young. They're done. Right? It'll probably be the end of the campaign for Booker. Anybody that's not within the first five tiers, they're basically out. And this is not helping Buttigieg either. Or Buttigieg, however you say his name. I'm not intentionally butchering it. So
yeah, no, all this helps is the president, right?
Yeah. No, and well, how much of his tweets are helping him? It's up for debate. Okay.
Well, hang on, MC, hang on, because let's be honest, it is true what he said. And I would stand by this: if you hate the country you're living in, fucking leave. And that's if you're a citizen or a non-citizen. If you hate the country, get the fuck out of it.
Oh, no. He did. He is right about that. All right. It's not presidential, though. All right. The way he went about it.
Hang on. How is it not presidential?
Because you don't say it like that. All right.
Why?
If you don't come back and sit up there and tell people, say, go back to the countries you came from and fix them first before you come back and try and tell us how to fix things here. That's not how you say it. You say it exactly like you said. Look, if you want to hate this country, if you want to do everything you can to disparage this country, if you want to sit up there and do that, fine. You have the right to do that, but that's anti-American, and it's obvious you hate America. And if you hate America to this degree, you know what? No one's keeping you here. Why are you still here? Oh, that's right. You got your snout in the public trough. My mistake. That's how you handle it.
On the upside, you know, he didn't say, get the fuck out. He just told them to get out.
Well, it said that they can leave. He didn't even tell them to get out. He honestly didn't. He just said, you can leave. All right. If you don't like it here, you can leave. Go back to the country you came from. But the fact is it's not something that he needed to get into that way at that point in time, all right, to wade into the debate. But it is doing the one thing. Because of the squad now, the squad is the Democrat Party. The squad has taken all the oxygen, and they're going to continue to take all the oxygen because it's easy to throw them front and center. But the thing that most leftists still to this day, the people like Sticks, people like Tim Pool, they still cannot understand. They still will not accept the fact that this is who Nancy Pelosi is. This is, all right, who Joe Biden is. Oh, they don't want to go about it the same way as Rashida Tlaib and Ilhan Omar, right? And AOC, all right? And Anya Pressler. They don't want to go about it the same way, okay? Only because they understand the American people don't accept that. See, Nancy Pelosi and Joe Biden and everybody, they haven't been accused of being anti-American slobs that they are. They're because they've been able to hide who they've been for a long time. The press has been able to hide who they've been for a long time. Now the press has exactly who they've been promoting for a long time and who are unapologetic about it. And they're young and they're women and they fit all the stereotypes and they're black and they're brown and we can sit up there and make all sorts of noise. And so they're cheering these idiots on, not realizing what's happening, and the rest of America is going, we've had enough of this bullshit. He did paint them. He did get them to come out. Nancy Pelosi, in her stupid statement, calling frickin' Trump a racist, and then having to, on the floor, go through the parliamentary procedures of being told, you can't say those things, all right? You should be retracting your statement, and then have the member of the Black Caucus who was sitting in the chair at that time go walk off the floor because he didn't want to sit up there and be the one to pull the trigger on Nancy Pelosi. It's a freaking shit show now. And then, of course, what do you have today? Well, we're going to sit up there and bring up impeachment. We're going to bring up the impeachment hearing today. 95 freaking Democrats voted for impeachment, and 124 voted against it of the Democrats. So impeachment went nowhere.
Well, no, and the other thing is, too, you have President Trump coming out and backing up Nancy Pelosi over AOC's comments. That has to make Nancy fucking nervous politically. She might lose her seat.
Well, she's now in a no-win situation, which is why she ended up going right back and turning around and backing up AOC in the game, right? When Trump tweeted, "If you don't like the country, go back to and show us where this is." They hate this country, and he's not backing down from that, of course. Because they do hate this country. And when somebody points it out, in come the right knights, like Sophane. Look at this race. What's racist about it? He doesn't know, because it wasn't a racist tweet. What was wrong about it? He's saying that they should leave. They're anti-American. Yeah, they are anti-American. You know how he responded to that? You know, I mean, he makes ridiculous comments. Because this is what the left does. The left is basically trying to take the American flag and turn it into a symbol of oppression and hatred. The same flag, all right, that was used to free the slaves in this country, where millions of Americans died in a war, all right, to free the slaves. And under that flag, under that auspices to free the slaves, under that auspices is now they want to turn that flag into a symbol of racism and oppression. Because they can't have it as a symbol for them. Because they want to tear this country down. And you got useful idiots like Sofing, like Thorne, like all these people, right? That think that no, they just want to point out some of the bad things. No, they're not. They're anti-American, and you guys are giving them cover. You guys support their anti-American tirades. They use terms, they'll couch it here and there, and then they come out and they spit on the flag. Just like Rapino. I'm going to kneel because of who's president of the United States. I'm going to kneel for the flag. The flag doesn't represent the president of the United States. It represents the country. It represents the people who fought under that flag to free the slaves, and you choose to spit on it. That's who Rapino is. He knows very well it doesn't represent Trump.
How do you feel about CNN giving a platform to Richard Spencer, and how hypocritical is that really when it's the same people that were mad because Andy Worski gave a platform to Richard Spencer? Isn't this quite ridiculous?
Well, why did they here's the question: Why did they give the platform to Richard Spencer?
To make Donald Trump look bad. They had him talking about the tweet by President Trump.
Right. They thought that they would get somebody in here who was a true frickin' alt-righter, right? A true, for lack of a better term, white supremacist, right? Ethno-nationalist, however you want to talk about it, right? And they thought that he would come in there praising Trump. And he didn't. But the reason they brought him in there was to try and tie him in with Trump. And they failed miserably. So do I care that CNN did that? That's typical what CNN does. All right? You guys act like this is something new for these yo-yos. All right? Do you realize how often David Duke's name was brought up? All right? When Bush was running for election? Where they were constantly trying to tie George Bush to frickin' David Duke. It was the same shit. It's the same playbook. The problem is that it's old and it's tired, and quite frankly, it's not going to work. But the reason it's not going to work is simply because they no longer control the narrative. See, they're trying to take the narrative back. The problem is right now is, in one sense, AOC said, we control the narrative. In a certain sense, she does. She does control the narrative on the left, on how the left is going to be portrayed. She is out there and is now the face of the Democrats and the face of the left in the United States. Now, she's not smart enough to realize that's not a good thing for her, but that's... You know, at this point in time, no crying over spilt milk now.
Well, no, and the thing is, though, I think CNN was, and okay, let me make this perfectly clear. I do not like fucking Richard Spencer or any of his beliefs, honestly. I think they're quite fucking stupid, and the idea of having an ethno-state is quite ridiculous. That being said, he schooled Sargon. He's a good debater, and I think CNN was swinging above their weight class.
Well, what they were trying to do, they failed in what they were trying to do, right? And with the idea that somehow you're going to tie Trump to Richard Spencer. Now, Richard Spencer is an ethno-nationalist. He is I don't know if you could say he's neo-Nazi. Only because I'm not sure if he's part of the Nazi movement at all as far as a group, all right? I don't know if he believes in a fascist type of state, right? He is a white supremacist, though. He does believe in white supremacy. He does believe in, what do you call that? The bell curve thing. What do you call it?
I think you call it the bell curve, right?
Well, no, but they called it something else. There's another term they had for it. I can't think of it off the top of my head. All right, where they're saying that the intelligence is tied to the genetics, and therefore, that's why blacks sit up there and score less on the ethnic chart, which is frankly just stupid. Okay, for a variety of reasons, right? Not the least of which is IQ tests are not tests of intelligence. They aren't. Okay, they're tests of knowledge. Right. Okay, and I don't care what anybody says. All right, they're not true tests of intelligence.
Well, yeah, now, you can have somebody like me where I can't draw to fucking save my life, and I'm rather not very good at math, to be honest, or spelling. But throw a history book in front of me, and I'm fucking golden. Yeah. You know what I mean? Creative writing, I'm all right at. I could do okay.
Right. Well, and that's like the thing is depending on how the test was written and what they're looking for and so forth. I mean, the test is the test. Does it give you an idea of how they can be successful from a societal framework within Western society to an extent? Yes, it gives you a quick snapshot of where they are at in a relative format, but it doesn't dictate anything, and it doesn't tell you how smart somebody is.
Well, no, and if you want to go by the standards of the SATs or a IQ test, then why not just use the ASVAB? At least they're throwing trade type stuff in there.
The thing is an SAT score, all right, is a decent indicator of whether or not you're ready for college. Okay. Why? Because are the knowledge on these broader scales for the way they've got colleges set up today or universities set up today, is it a good marker to see whether or not you're going to be able to succeed or not? And to an extent, you can say yes. I'll be honest with you, though, the biggest problem people have in college has nothing to do with the subject matter or anything else. It's the culture within it. The students struggle with the fact that they're getting to school, getting to class on time more than they are with the actual subject matter.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. But we've kind of strayed a little bit. See, here's the thing. You have YouTube rolling out these censorship rules. You have them also rolling out this new guideline harassment within the community of creators. So like MC, I make a video where I call you a cunt, and then you make a response video. We're both going to be in trouble for harassing each other. Isn't this stupid? Isn't a majority of the people doing live streams, doing current events, doing pop culture, doing even the blood sports shit, aren't a majority of us adults? Shouldn't we be treated like it?
Well, of course we are, but I mean, the thing is what is it that they're trying to do with this new expanded policy? Is it when I say that Styx is lying because he fails to bring up some things about George Bush and the nonsense that he spews about George Bush all the time, right? Is that considered harassment that I did a video on that? When I sit there and say and do a parody song like where has the leftist all gone, right? For my which is going to be my new tune for Tim Pool, okay? Is that all of a sudden now going to sit up there and be beyond the pale, right? Because I'm taking a content creator and I'm harassing them, right, by making fun of their own stupidity, right? Is that what it's going to be?
I have no idea, and they're not going to tell us. It's going to be vague and hard to understand, and then they're going to pick and choose who they punish. Like response videos, are they even going to be a thing anymore? Because that's the bread and butter for a lot of the creators I watched before I even joined YouTube and became a part of for lack of a better term, this community.
Well, yeah, and that is an issue, right? And the fact that they're not going to tell anybody, right, is a problem. The fact that they're hammering people. I mean, AOC actually at her latest thing on when she was questioning the YouTube people about what do you mean you're doing this? You guys are getting ready to roll out this new feature, but you're not telling people, and you're saying you've banned these people with these new policies, but you're applying these policies after the fact. You're not telling these people what these policies actually are. You're not giving these people this information. AOC is correct about that. I mean, that has been happening. So
yeah, no, and the president had that social media summit, which happened during my hiatus. What do you think about that? What do you think about the people from, like people like Tim Pool and Mark Dice and stuff being invited to the White House? Not only invited, but President Trump kicked out the regular news people and had the YouTubers sit in for a news conference. Well, okay, first off, that's pretty cool. Second, what do you think?
Well, he's going to have to go. He's got to do something about it. I mean, I'm kind of agree with Tim Pool on this. That it was really more just a photo op kind of a thing. Is anything really going to happen? Come out of this? He doesn't see anything really coming out of this. Neither do I. Right? It's something that was a power play. Now it has been shoved to the side because of more recent events. Okay, it could have been something more, to be honest. But the way they did it, the way they went about it, all right. Trump was just trying to raise the ire of the mainstream media. All right, and it worked. They were quite irritated. All right, but as far as is anything going to come out of this? If Trump wants to do something like this, what he's going to have to do is create a commission or a working group, right? And have these people that letting them know, saying we want to create a presidential commission to study this, and we want you on it, and you want it, and you want it, and you want it to sit up there and come back with policy recommendations on how we should go forward. That's when he's going to move on it. That's when he's really serious about doing something about this. Other than that, it was just basically a photo op.
Could he do something like I don't know, write an executive order adding social media to the FCC guidelines?
Well, no, he can adjust the FCC guidelines in a heartbeat. That he could do.
Right. Could that create a fair and open internet?
Well, I mean, depending upon how they go about it. But once again, if you're going to do something like that, make it a high-profile commission by taking people like Styx Hex and Hammer, taking people like Tim Pool, taking people that are part of the YouTube platform, the YouTube communities, or on the alternative media, right? And you give them a seat at the table, and you say, okay, what are your recommendations? And sit them on a presidential commission as a working group to come back and go, I've asked you, within 2 weeks, can you guys get together, all right, and give me recommendations in 2 weeks or a month? Give them a month to discuss these issues, right? And then say, this is the person that I'm appointing to run this committee, and then these meetings, and we're going to have a series of meetings, and then we're going to come back with a series of recommendations, and here's how we're going to run it. Then you know that he's serious. Then you know that, okay, well now something serious is going to come out with this. But as far as could he do some things like that? Yeah. Has he done that yet? No, not yet.
Could you imagine Tim Pool being picked to run the freaking social media commission?
I can see him being on it. He has no capability. He has no leadership skills. He couldn't run it.
I couldn't think of a YouTuber that could run it, though. They'd all just start killing each other.
I don't think that they'd start killing each other. You're gonna have to keep a committee. The hardest thing about commissions and things like that, meetings like that, if you've ever attended meetings, most meetings tend to be just informational things where they're putting out information. But if you're trying to go to work as a working committee meeting, you need to have somebody in charge, and they need to be laying out a guideline, a group of guidelines of plans of where they want to go with things. For example, we want so many recommendations by such and such a date, and here are the areas that we want to hear what your recommendations are in, right? And then you can present it to the president in some forum, and then he can read it out. Now, it doesn't commit the president to anything, but at least at that point, you could take a look at saying, okay, what are these suggestions on how to fix this? All right, and then he could either say yay, nay, or take part of the suggestions, or say, hey, this came from the committee, and I'm going to go forward with it. I didn't like this part of the committee. I think that's kind of stupid, but these areas I do like, so we're gonna push forward. But as far as Tim Pool running it himself, I don't think he has the capability to do that. I truly don't. I don't think he's got the leadership qualities.
Who do you think would? Like,
you would need. Truthfully,
would you have Lionel Nation on the committee and have him run it, maybe?
No, you wouldn't want. You don't want Lionel Nation running it. Having Lionel Nation on the committee is a good idea. Having a lot of different people on there is not a bad idea. But you need somebody that understands the legal structures involved with the FCC. That's what you're definitely going to need to have somebody run it. You need somebody on the FCC, from the FCC, that understands the internal ins and outs of the FCC to be able to make, realistic expectations or realistic policies. Because they have to have somebody who understands the structure of the FCC. And I don't think that's Tim Pool. I don't think that's Lionel Nation.
I don't think that's anybody from the internet, from social media. I think you would actually have to entrust that to a Congress or a senator.
Well, you would have to entrust it to somebody probably within the administration, but they're just there to run it and keep it on track. They're not and to explain things, because these guys are going to have, as they actually start to work on something like that, it's going to be new to them, and so they need somebody that can give them an explanation and answer their questions.
Yeah, absolutely. You would
Now,
want
the problem with doing that, of course, is that if Trump did that and somebody like Tim Pool would even take part of it, they would look at it as he would be accused and by many people, especially on the left, right, as being co-opted by them. David Rubin wouldn't be bad. Hey, Jack.
Dave Rubin, yeah. Maybe Crowder, maybe. If he could keep the jokes put away and be serious, which he runs the company, I bet you he's serious at his own meetings with his company. You know what I mean?
Oh, sure. I'm sure that he is, but you're going to have to need some of the bigger players, obviously, within the social media. But you want a broad-based commission, right? Now, it would be better if it was done from Congress. It would be better if it was a senatorial commission that was put together like that, right, rather than a presidential commission, right? But will they do something like that? I don't think they probably would. And I say legislatively simply because, quite frankly, you have members on both houses. Then you got both sides of the issue. They won't be accused of being the lapdog of the president.
Yeah, that's why presidents don't like to make their own commissions. Usually, they prefer Congress or the Senate to do so.
Well, it depends. Democrat presidents have no problem putting this presidential commission together or that presidential commission together, put presidential commissions all over the place. They have no problem with it. Why? Because they never suffer the slings and arrows of partisanship that are going to be slung at them from the mainstream media.
That's a very valid point, yeah. Anything else on this topic before I share the Picard poster and we talk about that a little bit?
No. Go ahead and share the Picard poster.
All right. Screen share. All right. So here we go. Here is the new Picard poster. So the theories I heard is so I guess Patrick Stewart actually has a dog rescue for pit bulls and stuff. And one of his dogs had died in real life. And maybe this is kind of a tribute to that. That would be kind of cool. Other than that, it's a cool poster, but it screams Firefly. It doesn't scream Star Trek, does it?
It doesn't scream anything. It screams a boy and his dog.
A boy and his dog, yeah. Right?
I'm serious. It screams, it's not Star Trek for sure, number one. I mean, it doesn't look like Star Trek. There's nothing Trek about that. All right. I don't care that he has a dog in the interview, all right? But the first problem that you're going to run into with this to begin with is, what has Trek always been about? Trek has always been about the group. It's never been about the I, all right? It's always been about the interactions of the cast, right? Yes, you have dominant people. It looks like an old Yeller movie. But it's always been about the cast and the crew interactions and their development and so forth, right? How are you going to do a Star Trek movie without the cast?
Well, see, here's the thing. This is why I wanted to talk about Picard, and it sucks that Voice left, because it has recently came to me known that, first off, Riker has directed episodes, he has been in episodes, and he is continuing to direct more. He is a integral part of the production. Also, Brett Spiner might be joining for an episode. Deanna Troi might join one. So will Geordi. I can't remember his name off. LeVar Burton. LeVar Burton. He said that he is going to be in an episode, and that the cast will probably be back, but not all together. Don't expect a full-on reunion, but you will see members of the cast. The person that plays Beverly has signed an NDA. It does sound like the cast will be back, so you will get your
No, you won't.
You won't?
No, because you're still creating a centric around the only person is going to be the dynamic is going to be Picard. It's not going to be the kind of character development with these other people. Yeah, these other cast members will come in and out, right? But it's all going to be focused and centrally around always Picard.
Well, if anybody could pull it off, don't you think Patrick Stewart could?
No. I don't
Why?
think anyone can. I think that the writing is going to be horrible, and that's going to be the end of it. I think I agree with Falco when he said that they need to let Star Trek go to the dustbin of history right now. They basically need to shelve it. They need to shelve Star Trek for the next 10 years.
And the only person I haven't heard that will be back is Michael Dorn, Worf. So I don't know if Worf will show back up or not, but I do know Michael Dorn pitched his own Klingon show repeatedly to CBS, and they told him no every time. He might just be mad and be like, "No, fuck you."
Yeah, Jack put something that I totally agree with. It's more like Star Trek is closely tied to an era in history, and it does not work anymore because we moved on as a society. Just like Godzilla movies are tied to a very specific time in Japanese history. All right, I agree with that to a point. The problem is, and people don't even understand this. Okay, the problem is right now with the history going on within the Western cultures, it's fracturing around it. Okay, everyone talks about the 60s and how we were fractured as a nation and so forth. Not really. Over the Vietnam War, kinda, but not really. All right. People weren't as fractured as as people think they were. They still had overall commonality between American ideals at that time frame. Now they were quibbling around the edges to a large extent. There was a lot of racial tension, all right, but that was more along the lines that broke across lines, all right, within society, all right. You had plenty of people from the South that were just as committed to to the segregationist side as they were to the anti-segregationist side. You also had that same dynamic playing forth in the North, right, where there were plenty of people who were marching with Martin Luther King versus the people that were marching against Martin Luther King. All right, it's a different dynamic with the way society still had a view of where we want to go. The problem that we have in our society today is that we don't have that commonality. This is why you hear them constantly. You hear the people on the left, especially from AOC and her little squad, why they say things like, "Well, American values." Okay, but you don't want to define what those American values are. That's where we've lost it. There was never any doubt about truth, justice, and the American way. There was always a fight of whether or not we were going about achieving that or not. But that's not true anymore. Go ahead. You were going to say something, Matt?
Well, no, and I was going to say, I don't necessarily believe that Star Trek is past its time. I would be perfectly happy if Discovery would have been set after Deep Space Nine, and they would have kept the looks, just put modern graphics. That's all they had to do. Instead, they wanted to Disneyfy Star Trek. They wanted to compete with Star Wars when it was never a one-on-one competition.
Yeah, but that's not what they wanted to do. I disagree with you. I totally disagree with you. That's not what they were doing with that.
Okay, well, elaborate. Go ahead.
What they were trying to do is push an identity politics agenda. They wanted to write an identity politics storyline. They were not trying to write good Trek. They were not trying to write a story, all right, with a message in it, right? They wanted to take that message and say, this is the story. And that's why it's falling apart. That's also why Star Wars is falling apart.
Well,
they have an agenda, and it's a political agenda, all right. And they want they want the story to the overall arcing storyline to fit within that agenda, rather than just tell a story, all right, from an agenda point of view. That's not what it's a different thing entirely.
Well, here would be my my argument in retort of that. They can write an SJW storyline just fine. Look at Deep Space Nine. Deanna Troi, or not Deanna Troi. Fucking Jadzia Dax. She is gender fluid. That symbiont goes from male to female. She ends up almost having a lesbian relationship when she's in a relationship with Worf already. There's all sorts of things. Jadzia also is almost like a Klingon warrior. She could stand toe-to-toe with Worf. But yet, she is not a Mary Sue. Yet, she is not beyond death. As we'll find out later in Deep Space Nine, she dies.
Right? Okay.
They could do it properly.
But that's not... No. See, to write an episode that has that, yeah. But that's not what they're trying to write, an episode. Okay? They're not trying to write an episode. They're trying to define the entire arc of the show that way. Do you see the difference? To include that kind of a storyline would be fine. The problem is that is the defining storyline, and that's the only storyline that's going to be told.
No, and I agree. Discovery is garbage, and that is why.
Discovery is garbage. That's why. Star Wars was garbage for that very same reason. The story is the same thing again and again and again, and they're preaching, and they're doing it in the worst manner possible. They're preaching about it.
Yeah, see, and that's what I was trying to point out with bringing up Jadzia Dax, is you can do this without preaching at me. You can have two girls kiss. You can have two guys kiss for all I give a flying fuck. Just don't throw it in my fucking face. Have it in the background, and it's just a normal thing, and treat it as such. Right?
Well,
it's not that
you can do that to an extent, but then it isn't upfront. Then it's not the storyline. It's not the reason. You got to remember they have a political agenda first, and their first political agenda is to push socialism and leftism. All right, they have to show them constantly defeating conservatives.
Don't they understand what subtlety is?
No.
You win more with subtlety.
No, but that's not who they are. Okay, that's not why they did the show. They didn't do the show to write Star Trek. They did the show to bash somebody they didn't like. They created Picard is going to be the same way because you got the same writers. They're not trying to tell the story of Picard. They're trying to figure out a way to use Picard's character as a way to bash people they don't like politically.
Well, I think Alex Kurtzman is going to take more of a back seat when it comes to Picard. I think Discovery is his creation.
Well, that would be great, but you still need to give overall direction to the writing crew.
Yeah, but you have fucking Jonathan Frakes behind the camera.
Jonathan Frakes is shit.
He's an alright.
When have you ever seen Jonathan Frakes actually do good?
He directed First Contact.
And First Contact sucked.
It did not.
First Contact sucked.
Take that back.
It rewrote all the freaking characters. It destroyed all the friggin' lore behind it. It created an entire dynamic that didn't need to be there. And in fact, the storylines that everyone had come up with to say, hey, how do we do this? When I first heard about First Contact, you know what I thought we were finally going to see? I was looking forward to finally seeing human beings running into the Tholians for the first time. By themselves with no one around, and watch what happens. And what do I get? A bullshit rewrite to try and redo the entire dynamic, all right, of human beings getting into space.
I thought it was good. I liked it when
Picard broke they destroyed the Borg. They created a Queen Borg, which we didn't need. So they destroyed the Borg. They destroyed the response of Picard to the Borg. You did a shit job freaking, run back into the past methodology. It sucked all the way around. It's like they came back in the past and then got stupid.
Deanna Troi does get drunk on tequila. Come on, that was good.
Yeah, and what's my view of Deanna Troi?
I know you would have wished she got alcohol poisoning, but
I wish she would have freaking been one of the first people turned to Borg. At least her character would have had some dynamics to it. An empathic Borg, that would have been awesome. You want to destroy the collective with something? Turn Deanna Troi into the Queen. See, that then could have worked. If they had the Borg take over Deanna Troi and she became a Borg Queen, that would have worked. That actually would have had, because all of a sudden you've got an empathic Borg. You could have done a whole freaking storyline just along that. But no, we had to go back and rewrite everything.
No, you're right. You could have, because then you could have Riker have to kill her. You could have made that really quite.
It would have been Trek, not the freaking Drek that we got.
God damn it! You've convinced me. Son of a bitch.
That would have been that would have even beaten off, beaming her in a deep space wide dispersion. That actually would have been a storyline I actually could have got behind. That would have been perfectly Trek. That would have been a much better ending for a character, right? Than what they came up with for what's her name, Crosby's character, Tasha Yar.
Yeah, Tasha Tar. Okay. So before we move on, and we can talk about other Trek and sci-fi and just talk a little pop culture for a while. It's my first time back in a bit, so why not make it an easy night? Last thing, though, about Picard here. First off, it screams Firefly because of the duster. Second, if he's going to be out of Starfleet, I want to see an Orion Syndicate storyline here. That's what I want to see. I'm not going to get it, am I?
No. No, you're not. This is. Look. All right. First of all, what is this scene? What is this poster supposed to represent?
I'm guessing this is him getting ready to leave his vineyard. He's all ready to go.
So he goes back in his time away from Star Trek. Since then, he's become a wino.
You know, they might make him an alcoholic.
Yeah, they might.
And alcohol. Yeah, that's real alcohol he's making. It's not synth alcohol. So they might just make him a alcoholic. And if CBS does that, I think I'm going to be with you, MC. Picard wouldn't be an alcoholic.
Picard wouldn't be an alcoholic. He also wouldn't be happy going back on the farm at any point in time. He's not someone that's going to be happy.
That's not necessarily
No, it is true.
Remember, best of both worlds, he goes and retires to the vineyard. Remember?
No, he goes back home to try and reestablish his humanity after being Borgized. That's a totally different scenario. He's not getting away from things. He's trying to reconnect himself with his own emotional standpoints after being freaking part of the collective. Different scenario entirely.
Yeah, but he still went back to the vineyard. So that's what they're trying to play
But not
of.
to retire. Not to go, oh, I'm just going to go over here and just kind of... Looks like it's going to rain.
Yeah, no, and yeah, so that's one last look at the poster before I close it and check the chat. I do like the dramatic view of the moon, how it's really close. I'm guessing that's just for dramatic purposes. And who stores their fucking barrels of wine out in the sun? That's pretty stupid. They go in a barn in the darkness, but whatever. Anything else? He's got a pretty nice vineyard. I mean, I don't know how they even have money, right? So how does he have this much land?
I don't know. Maybe it's something you get as a perk after being a Borg.
A Borg perk. Yeah, kind of like the Romans. They settled the barbarians out there.
Oh, and Flying Falcon's right. Picard, just like Kirk, there's no way you can keep them off of a ship. They love being on the ship. They love being a part of this too much to ever go into any kind of retirement in that kind of a mode. Now, I will say that Picard is more likely to become an admiral, right? And settle down into his role as an admiral than Kirk ever was, right? Because he is more, of that type, right? But at the same time, now I would say that they would it's very possible they would never make Picard an admiral, mainly because he's too freaking arrogant. He's
really?
Too freaking hard-headed.
They made fucking Jane, I'm fucking genocidal way a fucking admiral.
Yeah, I know that they did, but if you're talking about an actual freaking Starfleet, why would they make Kirk or not Kirk, but why would they make him an admiral? Why would they ever make or a vice admiral, right? Picard.
Why
Janeway, they would do it, and they would force her to retire.
You just make Picard a fleet admiral and have him run a station in a fleet, out, way out in the outer area of the Federation.
You could have done that with season 1 Picard, maybe season 2, not from beyond that point. See, you got to remember the first 2 seasons of Star Trek: The Next Generation. They actually had Picard playing a better idea of what it would be like to be a captain, where he wasn't the one going out there on away missions. He wasn't the central part of it. It's only toward the latter part where he starts going down down first, where he's the one going and taking all the chances, right? He's the one who's flying off to the Klingon Empire, right, to solve the Klingon Civil War, right? Yeah. He's becoming the focal point, all right? Whereas before, quite frankly, was the person who was constantly beaming down was Riker. And that's how it was, and it was okay. Okay, I didn't have a problem with that.
Well, what's your feelings about Riker? A lot of people dislike him. Like Voice thinks Riker is inept. And Voice, if you're listening, don't let me put words in your mouth. I do remember that conversation on Discord, but maybe I'm mistaken. But I do believe he thinks Riker is inept. I don't. Riker's probably my favorite character in TNG, other than well, no, O'Brien's my favorite over on DS9, but he had no real role on TNG. So I can't cheat and say O'Brien from the very start.
Okay, one of the problems with Riker's character is he is a horrible first officer.
Well, he's a womanizer, so he's always up the skirt of some other fucking chick.
Well, that to me is very minor, mainly because of the portrayal of that society back then. Let's be perfectly honest, right? Star Trek at that time frame have basically no, from sexual mores, right? Have no sexual mores. They've always portrayed that society like that. It doesn't surprise me if they weren't freaking, showing him sleeping with a different woman every day. Right? He has no commitment like that. So that part didn't bother me. The thing is, though, when you're a first officer, you have certain responsibilities that you do not see him engaging in. But that, once again, that's coming from a military perspective. That's not a this is my view, okay. And you can say that it's overly pointed because from a military perspective, as a first officer, he's shit. Okay.
Okay. Fair enough. And I'm gonna follow that up since we're talking Star Trek. Let's just continue. What about Worf as security? And Tasha Yar was shit as a security officer, but Worf was a little bit better, right?
Worf was much better. All right, but then again, once. I had problems with the way they wrote Worf in certain scenes, but of course, I absolutely despise the way they wrote Tasha Yar. All right, so I mean, it's kind of a minor thing. I think the idea of security, the way that they're looking at security in that regard, is ridiculous to begin with. There should be tactical officers. I have no problem with that, but they shouldn't be security.
No, it should be the Makos from Enterprise, right? That was the proper way to handle it. You have Marines do your security.
Yes. Yeah. You have a Marine force and people that are in charge of the Marines. But the one who normally would be interacting almost directly with that force should be the executive officer.
Which would be Riker.
Yes.
Yeah.
But
yeah, exactly.
You don't see him doing that.
No, you're right. And I don't think Enterprise portrayed the military aspect of Starfleet in a much better way than TNG or even DS9.
Well, yeah, but we understand that the way they're trying to treat Starfleet and so forth. All right, I don't have a huge problem necessarily with the way they did it, because these aren't people that were served in the military or understand how the military aspects of things go. As far as an executive officer, okay. It's an interesting concept to put him there as the eyes of Picard. That's what he should be doing when he's going on away missions. His first thing should be go down there, and he's constantly telling Picard and updating Picard with status. And he sends out people around, becomes the central focus on whatever planet they're visiting, and then writes back, okay, what's going to happen? And they kind of started that, all right, in the first season, but they didn't carry it the way it needed to be carried. All right. Another responsibility of the executive officer, all right, is it's his job to train everybody else. It's his job. He's responsible for the progression for the rest of the crew. All right. You never see that. Now, the chances behind that are, how would you do it unless you see it, unless you understand that role of an executive officer? Okay. In actuality, they did a much better job on Voyager of that. You see much Chakotay doing that much more than Janeway, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So from that standpoint, I like Chakotay's Chakotay in many ways is a much far better first officer than Jonathan Frakes' Riker.
I think,
but it's writing. It's writing, and it's because I understand that my complaint is strictly because I'm approaching it from a military mindset and military equivalencies. I'm pushing these things, and that's not necessarily the best way to look at Star Trek either.
Well, no, and I think Thomas Riker actually would make a better first officer than William, and I get it. I get how that's weird to say, but that experience of having to survive alone after that transporter accident made Thomas Riker act a lot quicker before, like where William will sit and think about something and then act. Thomas would not even think. It would be a reaction, and he was more edgy and more on the ball, in my opinion. And I really like that episode of DS9 when he steals the Defiant.
I don't know. I think that if you were alone on a planet like that, okay, your view of a lot of things is going to be significantly different. How many years was he supposedly on that planet by himself? I mean, it was a good while, right?
Yeah, actually, because it was before Farpoint, right?
Oh, and yeah, much before Farpoint. I mean, he was supposed to be there, over a decade, close to a decade or so?
Some shit like that. Yeah, right. It was quite a while.
So I think that somebody coming back from that kind of a mentality or that kind of a thing, first of all, it would take them a long time to adjust. Okay, and quite frankly, it wouldn't surprise me if, in a normal type of situation, if they removed Riker off of the ship with the new Riker, all right, to help him transition, ordered him to do so. Now, it also could be saying, to me, what would have been a better view of that? Look, I understand where you guys go, but I got to go my own way. Leave me alone. I've got to sit there and be alone for a while. You get used to being alone. You've got to then acclimate to the fact that there's people around you again. And quite frankly, being left alone on that planet for that period of time, who knows what kind of psychological, idiosyncrasies that he's picked up. And you don't ever see that being portrayed, unfortunately, because they didn't explore that line far enough out, to be honest. They did do a good job of making him part of the Maquis. That is very possible for he could very well go into that kind of fanatical mentality.
Well, no, and I think Riker would with the right push in that direction, even because he's not. When it comes to the Prime Directive, he's more Kirk than he is Picard. You know what I'm saying?
They're all a bunch of freaking hypocritical asshats when it comes to that. What are you talking about?
Well, let's move on to DS9. All right, the Changeling threat on Earth, the coup attempt, and everything that happened there, where they used Red Squad and all this to shut down the power grid, the weather stations, and just create chaos on Earth. That was an all right storyline. I don't necessarily like how it played out. What do you think?
You're not going to use cadets.
Yeah,
you're not. And I'm going to be very specific. Not only are you not going to use cadets, all right. The problem with that entire storyline is it had happened 2, maybe 3 times within the TNG universe before that. At some point in time, you would have thought that they would have come back and figured out a way to mitigate that threat. And what's more is the ones who would have been mitigating it right off the bat would have been Section 31. Section 31 would never have allowed anything close to that to even even take place. Not unless Section 31 was taking over.
Yeah, well, Section 31 could have been funding them to begin with.
No, they would have taken over at that point in time. If Section 31 is going to go to that degree, right? What they do is behind the. If you look at how they've been acting all through DS9, they work behind the lines. They do not. They have certain guidelines though, and certain things that they don't cross. One of those is they don't actually pose a realistic threat, all right, to the bylines within Starfleet. If you ever notice that. They break the rules, all right, but they're not going to sit up there and they're doing it in an effort to save the Constitution of the Federation. They walk a very, very tight line about what it is. They themselves, one of the things that I liked about the episode was they themselves, the agents of Section 31, all right, up for the most part, don't ever seek. The one difference between them is they never seek personal power, ever.
Yeah, that's kind of true. I take it that you liked the Section 31 storyline with Bashir and all that.
To an extent, I did, yeah. At least it was novel. They kept it more or less the way that most people would see a secret organization. Now, some of the stuff that they could do was ridiculous. All right, but overall, the one thing that they always were talking about was the fact that you're doing this for someone else. You're not doing it for yourself. Your own. They totally submerged the I factor within Section 31. It was never about them. They did a lot of underhanded shit. Okay. But it's not because they want to do it. It's because it's best in their minds. It's best for the it's best for the Federation. And they understand one other aspect. Like I said, it could never be about themselves personally. It always has to be topmost, always the Federation over the top. So the structure of the Federation is saved from the stupidity of the Federation itself.
Yeah, no. And the thing about DS9 is I really liked how they showed what changelings can do, and when it comes to actual changeling abilities, Odo is rather limited. We see in one episode that one changeling Odo finds turn into mist form on the promenade. That's a changeling. They could be fog. That's pretty scary, really.
Well, but that's OP. You gotta understand that right there turned them when they did that. All right, I was like, okay, you just lost it. It's one thing to morph into a solid object or that solid object or become a different creature or something like that. But when you become a non-morphous blob, all right, but at the same time, it's not physically connected to yourself anymore, you've now made them OP. Because now, why can't they just like float into space?
Yeah, which that one ends up doing. That's how he travels, is as like a space alien. Yeah, they are overpowered. I totally agree.
You know, at that point, and I'm not, because then okay, so how do you catch them? Oh, we're going to do blood tests. Okay, if a changeling has the ability to do that, all they have to do is basically be carrying inside of them inert blood. So when you go in there and try and take a blood, they're just taking a sample of blood because they're drawing it not from the changeling itself. They're just drawing it straight from the tube that they always carry around with them within their bodies. The way they go about this, how could you do this? The only way to have found out if there was going to be a changeling would have been the way the frickin' Romulans did it when they went to go kill the frickin' aliens. All right, when they went to go kill them on their planet, the episode where Garrick says, "Come on, Worf, what's a genocide for Klingons?"
Well, no, and that's the thing too. All right, I'll buy the change.
It wasn't that sequence, but it was. What was that? I'm sorry. What was that?
Oh, well, I'll buy the changelings being able to change into whatever. I'll buy that they genetically engineered the fucking Jemadar. I'll also buy they genetically engineered the Vortas and they clone them. All right, fine. But when the war breaks out and the wormhole's sealed, why do they think they can actually win this? I mean, seriously, now it's not... Like, those Jemadar troops that you had, they're now a liability because you can't keep them fed with Ketracel White because the Federation and the Klingons and now the Romulans, after in the Pale Moonlight, are going to target your White facilities.
Yes. They would wipe out all the Ketracel White. The Ketracel White would be instantly depleted.
Yeah, no, and that's all we have to do. Suicide runs, destroy the White factories. Your own troops will kill you eventually.
Well, they'll die. They may not kill you, but they'll die out. That's very true. But you know, they like I said, they're overpowered. Okay, and they choose. Why would the Dominion, all right, of all the aliens, all right, to choose all the alien powers? Why would you choose the Cardassians?
Yeah, you know, I would have had them partner with. They would have done it stealthily, like, and they kind of had this storyline a little bit, but the Orion Syndicate would have been a bigger deal if I was the writer, and then I would also had them go directly to the Breen Confederacy and not use the Cardassians first.
No, they would have gone to the freaking. If they would have done anything, the weakest one from a military perspective, or from a social political perspective, the easiest one to take over would have been the Romulans.
The Romulans are already xenophobic. They already want the Federation to crumble. They would join the Dominion if they went to them first. Absolutely. And with the cloaking devices, you would have never seen them come out of the wormhole. It would have never been mine.
Well, you see the wormhole opening and closing. So, but no, they would have. The Romulans would have been the ones that the Dominion would have went after. But they would have tried to take over the Romulans, and they probably could have done it without too much difficulty. From the way they do things within Star Trek, they really the way that the structure is with just a Praetor, right? Which is just basically a military dictatorship. All you got to do is sit up there and take over the military dictatorship. You're now in charge. They'd already destroyed the Tal Shiar. What was left of the Tal Shiar, they captured a ton of Tal Shiar agents. They'd already infiltrated the Tal Shiar. In fact, one of them was in the Tal Shiar already. All right, which is why he was on that ship when they blew it up. Right, so they already have all the ins and outs of the Romulan society. Why then would they choose to try and align with the Cardassians? They wouldn't. They would have already taken over the Romulans.
Yeah, and you would have had automatically the Klingons were already pretty much a Federation puppet state. Let's be real about it. And the Klingons and the Romulans are itching for a fight. You would have had the war break out amongst their border to begin with.
Well, what you would have had was exactly what they did. You would have had the Klingons basically attacking the Cardassians in a war that is basically, instigated by the Dominion, right? And then as the Cardassians are looking for an ally, you would have seen the Romulans come in to say, okay, we're going to help you here. It still would have just been a battle between the Romulans once again and the Klingons, another Romulan-Klingon war. There's still no reason for the Federation to take in, and then the Klingons would have been wiped out. That would have been the end of it. Now with the combined forces, because you helped the Cardassian, absorbing them into the quote-unquote Dominion as part of it, then it makes sense. And then they could attack in a united front, right, between the Romulans, the Dominion, and the Cardassian, all solidified against the Federation. And the only chance the Federation would have then is to bring in groups that aren't part of it, right, like the Tholians, because nobody even talks about where the power base is of the Tholians. Nobody, you only see them now and then they never really do anything. The Tholians would have been a great thing to explore. We all know that there's there. Everyone wants to see the Tholians, all right, and see them expanded, and all you get is you don't see anything on screen.
Yeah, aren't they the ones where it's just a ship with like a floating head talking? They're not even really they're not
and in the lore, they were supposed to be the first aliens that human beings encountered when they went into space. Which is why they basically don't like the humans.
Well, no, and isn't there something weird about them? Like they don't breathe air or some shit, some weird.
They're not
shit.
humanoid. To some degree, they're not humanoid. That we knew. That would have been cool. See, that could have been awesome. But no, they had to go with that first contact, and that movie sucked.
What would they be?
What could they be?
Yeah, not humanoid. What's that even mean?
I would have made them kind of like a silicoid type of group.
Oh, could they be the ones that created the fucking tar monster?
Not the tar monster, no. I would have made them like... All right, if you go back to the original series, the one rock monster that was basically on that lava planet, that they bring in Abraham Lincoln and Sarek and so forth.
Yeah,
they have them fight. It's a stupid original series episode. But at the same time, if they would have been along those lines. They would have been on that type of level. Different. Their technology isn't just advanced. It's advanced, but it's so different that utilizing Tholian technology, just like the Tholians using Federation technology, would be difficult because the mindset basis behind how all of it works would be different. They could have explored that to such a degree, and they never did. That would have been cool.
No, and they even explored the idea of species 8479 more than they did that, and that's also a non-humanoid being, right? Because they're in the liquid universe.
Yeah, fluidic space, as they called it. They called it fluidic space. My problem with the changelings is that they violated the rule of conservation of mass. That is a problem that I have with the changelings as well. Because that means that they can convert matter to energy and energy to matter, at which point they can become an energy beam. Why don't they just, become an electricity trail that they can roam around on and take over computers like nothing? That was Ainchek that was saying that.
Could it be that they can do that? They just don't know how, and that's the next step in their eventual evolution?
Well, then their energy creatures no different than the... Then their energy creatures just no different than the Organians.
Real quick, we got a £2 super chat from Aaron. Hey, what's up, Aaron? Tholians in Mirror Universe episode of Enterprise. I don't remember that. I do have Netflix.
They are there, but they don't explore the Tholians really. I mean, they could have done more with it. I agree that they're there, and they say that they're kind of like insectoid, kind of like things. That their temperature, the average temperature of their ships internally are 500 degrees or something like that.
Well, no, and I see Goatman in there. He says, "I stand with Mad Dodge." Hey, I stand with Goatman. We stand in solidarity, brother. Fight the power. No.
Yeah. The Anatroid dies. The Anatroid deserved to die. She should have been freaking gotten rid of. Yes, I know that they show the Tholians, but I don't like that aspect of it, so I kind of ignored that episode.
don't remember this episode. What do they look like?
In Enterprise?
Yeah,
they have multiple limbs and so forth. They're like insectoid like freaking centaurs from one, if I remember correctly. It's been a while since I saw it though.
Okay, because you say insectoid, I think of the insectoids from Enterprise. You know?
Yeah, no, not like the what do you call them? What were
the
they?
giant praying mantis looking motherfucker.
Yeah, but they were part of that one group. What they call them? Where they had the aquas and the avians and so forth.
Yeah. Yep.
The Zindi. They were part of the Zindi, the Zindi thing, but no, the Tholians are not Zindi.
But all right, MC, we're talking Star Trek here. Have you ever read any of the novels?
Several of them, but not the more recent ones.
Every once in a while, when I'm at Goodwill or whatever, I'll check their stack of books and pick up a few of the novels. They're pretty good. I don't know. It sucks though finding them in order, so it's really hard to follow along where in the story you are, or the timeline, I should say.
Yeah. Here's the. Let me put this out here. I'm going to. This is what they showed for the Tholians.
Oh, it's like a weird firebug thing. I remember that thing now. Yeah, that does kind of look cool, though. I mean,
it looks cool. It looks cool, but they didn't do the Tholians justice. I mean, they could have done so much more with it. You know.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. From if you're going to go down the way, for example, if you wanted to do Discovery, okay, why not have Discovery go explore an area where they're constantly running into, and the big bad guy is the Tholians, so you can explore Tholian culture and Tholian interaction and their version in their area of space and so forth, right? And some of those things where they become the big threat, where they're constantly in interactions with the Tholians as part of the problem, where you can explore the Tholian subcultures rather than just deal with the. I mean, I'll be honest with the Enterprise. What I didn't like about that is I know a lot of people like the Zindi arc. I couldn't stand the Zindi arc. I really couldn't. I think they did such a shit job with the reptilians.
Well,
right?
You know, I don't know about that, because the reptilians in that World War II arc they did, that little 3 or 4 episode arc, that was good, dude.
How really Captain Kirk made sweet love with that?
His dick might light on fire. That thing looked like it was on fire. But
you know how much energy it takes to keep tiny spaceships just above freezing. 500 Fahrenheit is a massive energy demand, and it is, if you are correct. However, what that means is that the shielding on those ships probably have more to do with insulation, the type of shielding, which would be interesting.
Yeah, do we know if Federation weapons actually work on Tholian ships?
No, they do work. I mean, they did disable, if you remember the Tholian Web series with the original series, they actually hit the Tholian ship and they put it out of commission until another one shows up.
Okay, so they are susceptible to energy weapons, obviously. Yeah. What type of weapons were they firing back? I haven't watched all of the original series.
Aaron is right, and I agree with this totally. Enterprise should have been part of the Romulan War instead of the Zindi War. I totally agree with that. That's where they should have went with it. It should have been. They should have done that. The fact they could have had Enterprise at the start of that war, and you could have had Discovery happen just after that war, all right, and picking up the pieces and exploring simultaneously. There were ways they could have used Discovery. The whole Klingon thing, sorry, but that was just bullshit.
Well, now, if they made that sect of Klingons a religious cult that ends up dying out before current era, then I could have forgiven them. But they doubled down and then tripled down and said, no, this is what the fucking Klingons look like now. No, it's not.
Yeah, there was
no
need for that. There was no need for that. So, no, I agree with you there. But the Tholians, like I said, the Tholians could have been cool, but I would have made them more like a silicoid type of.
Yeah, how do you do like a silicon-based alien though? That's like a blob or some shit?
No, actually, I would have made them more like crystalline. They'd be more crystalline than anything else. They would be related to that giant star crystal that was eating planets.
Oh, that's a cool idea.
So they would have been they would have been similar in that regard, but they
couldn't
they
power their own ship then themselves, like maybe even telepathically because they're crystals.
Well, they would have direct interaction. They could probably have direct interaction with the ship's controls, so that when they connected with the ship, they were part of the ship, truly part of the ship, right? So that when you hit the ship, they get injured. Right, because damage to the ships is damage into them because they're that interconnected. That would have been a dynamic they could have explored, right? But then all these are wasted opportunities.
Hey, CBS, I tagged you in this. If you hear this, call us. All right, we got some great ideas. We could help you write this shit. All right, I mean, and write it like as in write and as in write the fucking ship. Because you guys are way off course. Like you're headed the wrong fucking direction.
There are rubbery silicon elements, so rocky creatures would be so boring. Yeah, no, you're right. But you would make it so that they have different features of silicon within their body. That's the way to do it, where they have hardened areas like an exoskeleton, but the joints would be like rubbery type of a silicon base, and their fingers would be manipulative type of, for lack of a better term, just kind of like appendages, like a trunk of an elephant, right?
Yeah,
still could have had that face, right? That rigid face that looks like a shield. I mean that. There's so much they could have done with that.
And they have the CGI now to do that. They don't have to make models and do makeup and shit. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. No, yeah. But I definitely would have. You definitely could have done something like that. With CGI, definitely. Would it have been expensive to do it that way? Yeah, but considering all the, the wasted money that they did for CGI for Discovery, I mean, I'm sorry, but there was so many more opportunities you could explore within the Trek universe. I didn't mind. I'm not like a lot of people. Prequels don't bother me a whole lot, although they're very difficult to keep within canon. All right, but as long as you're trying with good faith effort, it's not too difficult to keep it close enough to people who can go, okay, I'll forgive that. They're good. There is good CGI and bad CGI. You're right, Goldman. You're all right about that. Right, but it doesn't bother me as long as they're trying to stay true in a general sense. Okay, and to have taken Discovery, like I said, and have it so that it's there, the Federation is still picking up the pieces after the nasty Romulan War, right? But at the same time, they're exploring and they're encountering, and they keep like they're moving over to another area, and all of a sudden they find the Tholians are over here, and then they go to another area, things, just general kind of exploratory stuff, and then they run into Tholians in another spot, right? So it looks like the Tholian War is going to start right on the heels of a Romulan War. See that dynamic. And the other thing is with Discovery that they definitely needed to do, let's be perfectly honest, the one aliens that at least they did right, all right, in Enterprise is the Andorians. And they could have had much more to do with the Andorians. I love the Andorians.
Yeah, me too. After Enterprise, I didn't really know much about them before that. Like I said, I haven't watched all of the original series. Dude, I'm 34. I grew up watching TNG and fucking DS9 and Voyager. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So that's my era. So I never knew much about the Andorians, but after Enterprise, the Andorians are badass, especially that one fucking Andorian from Enterprise. He was cool.
Shram.
Yeah, I liked him. He was awesome.
But see, that could have been something. I mean, there's all these things could have played a part of this. I mean, people wanted to see the Andorian because the Andorians were blue. Everybody liked the blue character, right, with the Andorians from TOS. And TOS, they didn't show much with the Andorian, just the Andorian ambassador, right? But the Andorian ambassador does say certain things that give you a surprise, not the least of which is he says that we are a very, aggressive species, right? So you have this idea that, the Andorians could be badasses, right? I mean, and they played them that way in Enterprise. They did the Andorians the way I think the Andorians should have been played. And you could have done so much more with that with Discovery by having, far more Andorians on the crew. You can bring in your Vulcan. I don't really care about that. All right. Just even having an Andorian and a Vulcan at the same time in the same crew would have been awesome.
Oh,
right?
They fucking hate each other.
I mean, just think of the dynamics that you could have played with this, but nah. Goldman, more three-breasted green aliens. He wants the Orion Syndicate back. The Orions, that's something else you could have at least explored a little bit in Discovery, is the Orions. To at least, had them talking what kind of characters they truly are and what kind of, underground power brokers and how they work a little bit more.
Yeah, no, and that's one thing they never really explore in Star Trek, other than DS9, is the Orion Syndicate. Because they are a power broker, and I bet you Quark knows a lot of them. Bet you anything. You know what I mean?
Well, you got to the thing is they played them like a mafia group, but in reality, the Orions, they had their own planet, they had their own culture, they had their own rules, right? So why not utilize that? Why not play off of that?
No, and make a good Star Trek doesn't have to be all exploration. It really doesn't. See, instead of this Lower Decks and this kids cartoon and this other shit they're doing, they should do this. They should go, all right, we're gonna do a Star Trek crime drama type show. Kind of like how The Expanse started out, where you're following a cop pretty much. But you're going to have somebody trying to, that episode with O'Brien and the Orions, you do that, but you do it as a series of 4 seasons.
Yes. Aaron, I think that seeing more of the Breen is not a bad idea, but if you're going to put what I would have done was Discovery. Like I said, I would have done more with the with the Tholians, and then touched on the Breen, where they have an encounter with the Breen, all right, but really keep the Breen more in the background of wondering what they are. And as far as the Orion Syndicate goes, let's be perfectly honest. If there was such a thing called the Orion Syndicate that the Federation is dealing with and has to deal with, the Federation would have gotten rid of the Orions a long time ago. Unless the Orion Syndicate has a purpose that is being utilized by Section 31. And you could explore that dynamic with the Section 31 with the Giorgio series, but they won't do it right. That's the problem, is they won't do it right.
Yeah, and that's what I don't get. They have so much to work from. That they have a large collection of novels. They have Star Trek Online. they have the ideas coming from the actors who are so invested in this, because let's face it, Michael Dorn will only be Worf. He's typecasted. You know what I mean?
No, I can see him as a regular crew member. You would have to change the personality behind him, but he could play a decent, just a regular character. I don't think you need to do that with Michael Dorn per se. The one thing that's like, they also didn't do the Ferengi right. There's just so many aliens they shafted.
You know what would be interesting?
It would be nice to see something else if you really wanted to do something like the Picard series. If they're really going to do the Picard series right, quite frankly, this is what you would do: is you would create. There would be a planet, all right, that is or a station, or an artificial station, all right, that's at a central point where all you see, the whole purpose of that is like a Babylon 5 purpose, where the aliens interact with each other, and this is where a lot of the contacts go for first and so forth. As you always come through here, it becomes like a gateway point, right? Where if you want to travel into some of these other spaces, this is the port of entry, right? And this is the port of exit that you go through. When leaving Federation, you go through here. If you want to go to the Romulans, you go through that door, and so forth, where they were interacting constantly with one another. That's how that would be something to where, like, okay, you can go anywhere. You're dealing with all these different aliens. Different aliens are popping up on the screens. You know, because you're going to have, one of the things that always irritated me is, okay, when you talk about the Romulans, the only Romulans you ever see are Romulans. They have an entire empire with other alien species that are part of the Romulan Empire. Why don't we see them? Klingon Empire, same thing. The Klingons absorbed all sorts of other races into their empire, but you only ever see the Klingons.
True. You know what they could have did is a prequel series of the Bajoran occupation. You get back the guy that was Garrick, and you get back Gold Dukat, and you do a 2 or 3 season Bajoran occupation story, and then you can have your wham and your Mo Women's and all that shit right up in your face, and all it is pretty much a concentration camp story.
Mad Dodge Productions, I don't care who it is, no one's hyped for the old man in his vineyard. That's Brian the Observer. Or Brian the Observer, however you want to pronounce it. But yeah, no, you're right. No one is hyped for it because Discovery was so bad. All right? Because, in my opinion, all right, First Contact and the other TNG movies failed to live up to their hype. Okay? Because of that, in my opinion, nobody trusts them anymore. Especially the disaster that was Discovery. To actually write a decent Star Trek show or a decent Star Trek episode. And I don't care if it takes place in the Kelvin timeline or not. They're just not going to write an interesting show, I don't think. I could be wrong, you know?
Where are all the old writers dead? Like, where are the old guys? Can we bring them back?
No, I don't want the old guys. I want new people who are trying to write a good story, all right? And write it like a good story that's not trying to be preachy, that's trying to write about humans in space, right? Because that's really what Star Trek is, humans in space, interacting with aliens in space. That's what it's human-centric. I mean, let's be perfectly honest. Okay, we throw in Quark here and there, or we throw in Jadzia Dax, all right? But really, it's humans. When you see Kira Nerys, what's the difference between the Bajoran and a human? The nose, little crinkles on the nose, right? I mean, let's be honest. Almost nothing, right? The most the aliens that you see the most of, to be honest, in Deep Space Nine is basically, whether you like it or not, the Ferengi, right? They're the only ones that don't look human. They at least, now I'll be honest with you, I don't like the storylines that they did with Quark because they made his character into too humanoid, too like a human. Which I that's the only bad part. But overall, I like the Quark character, but they didn't need to do that. Picard will be something like John Wick in space. I hope not. Oh God, I hope not. If that's what it is, it's just going to suck.
Well, no, and my problem with how they treated the Ferengi was they were always a laughingstock. Every episode they were centric in, it was a comedy episode.
Yeah, no, to a point. I thought that the episode with the where Quark had been in love with the one Cardassian woman, I thought they did that okay.
Yeah, true.
Okay,
and I did like that episode where Quark is made Negus or whatever, and they do the Godfather scene. That was pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, but you're right. It was more of a joke kind of a thing. Picard transitions into a female Ferengi. Surprise! It does give trans a whole new meaning now, doesn't it? When you say you're transitioning.
Now I'm gonna have nightmares of Picard as a female Ferengi. Thanks a lot. Who said that?
Go ahead.
Your name. But no, yeah. We'll see how Picard turns out. I will get CBS All Access to at least see the first episode. And I'll do a review. We'll see. Other than that, I like the old Star Trek. I love DS9. It's my favorite. Enterprise was also pretty good. And, TNG, if you skip the first season, it's good.
TNG suffers from a fatal flaw. They never get rid of Troy.
You really hate her.
I hate the character. The character is absolutely useless. The dynamics in the story writing when they write it. You want to know one of the biggest problems, and I know this is going to make people mad. You want to know one of the biggest problems with the Next Generation is one of their primary writers that they utilized for that was Melinda Snodgrass.
Yeah, it was. Yep.
And Melinda Snodgrass has written a number of different books. And if you ever read them, you'll understand what I mean. All right. She writes as if everyone thinks like females do. And you lose your understanding of the male outlook on things, right? When Melinda Snodgrass, and you can see it in the episodes where she features as the executive producer, right? Is you're like, what are the guys acting like a bunch of freaking lunatics for? They're not acting like standard guys. That right there was one problem that I had. All right, I've never liked Melinda Snodgrass's books because I have no problem with the way she writes a storyline, and it's creative from that perspective. That's fine. But when she tries to write a male character, she sucks at it really, really bad. Right? You can see it through her books. All right. Now, before anybody says, "Well, you just don't like women," I'm sure you just don't like women authors. Another sci-fi author that I dearly love, that I thought did a great job doing that kind of stuff, is Barbara Hamby. Hamby's characterizations are far better. That's the same problem I have with Harry Potter in the movies. There's a lot of that. The Ferengis were the most straightforward of all the races. She knew what you were dealing with when you were dealing with them, and yet they always surprised that the Ferengi cheats them. That's one of the problems, though, is the Ferengi. There's no such thing as a race that is always looking to cheat you. Okay? They're looking to make the best deal for themselves, and as long as you have that, why would the Ferengi cheat when they don't have to? Right? If the Ferengi cheat when they don't have to, then what nobody's going to deal with them. That's bad for business. They're supposed to be businessmen. It's not saying that they're not above cheating or they won't cheat, but that shouldn't be cheating. It shouldn't be their primary adjective, or the rest of the frickin' aliens in the world would have freaking gotten rid of them a long time ago. Can you imagine if they're that kind of a cheating kind of a race, what would have happened to them after running into or encountering the Orion Syndicate? The Orion Syndicate would have wiped the floor with them. They would have exterminated the entire race.
I know, right? Yeah. Ferenginar would be Orionar.
You want to talk about slavery? Now, see, that would have been cool. Ferengi slaves, and then they have an episode where the Ferengis overcome and free themselves from slavery. That would have been a cool dynamic to explore. But then they would have been dicks, and then they'd have a reason to be dicks. They'd be very untrusting of other creatures and other alien races. I mean, that would have been an awesome exploration.
They kind of do that with the Bajorans, though.
Yeah, they do a shit job with the Bajorans. They really do. Do you really care about the Bajorans? When the Dominion took over the Bajor, when they made that deal to be neutral with Bajor, I was like, eh. I really was. I really have no feelings about the Bajorans, really, at all. When it came to Deep Space Nine, the character I probably liked the least was probably Nerys. I think they did
Really?
Well.
She's a hothead, though. I thought you would have identified with her.
Nah, no. The character I like the most on Deep Space Nine is Garrick. Garrick is the most enjoyable character of all of them, right?
Yeah, I'm just a simple tailor.
I'm just a tailor. You are no simple tailor. Now, come now, Captain.
In the Pale Moonlight is my favorite episode, and Garrick has a lot to do with that.
Yeah. Well, he is pushing the envelope with what he is. That's very true.
And the fact that him and Gul Dukat just hate each other so fucking much. It's
well,
awesome.
The only thing you know about it is somehow Garrick was involved in Gul Dukat's father being prosecuted as a traitor. That's the only thing you know of why they hate each other.
That could be it, but I doubt it.
Well, let's put it that way. It definitely gives you a reason that there's obviously some bad blood that goes much deeper than just. He gave him a bad cup of Ractogino one day.
Yeah, right.
But that the episode where they discussed that, I just recently saw that one again. It's when the Tarek Nor is getting ready to be blown up because of the fail-safes, right, against Bajorans.
Oh yeah, I remember that episode. Yeah.
Yeah, where Garrick's talking to once again to Gul Dukat. Well, your father at his trial said this. I was like, okay. I can see where the bad blood's building up again. Now I remember this episode. Because you never really do know exactly why they hate each other.
Yeah, I know. All right, we're headed upon 2 hours here, and I know it's almost your dinner time, or probably past it. So one last question before we wrap it up.
Mm-hmm.
Insurrection, the ending, Data, and then the cop-out would be 4. What the fuck, right?
First of all, Insurrection sucked. The whole premise sucked. The whole freaking premise sucked. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. The whole premise behind Insurrection was dumb. It really was dumb. All right, and it really it took a fleshed out alien race, the Romulans, and
Wait a
turned them
minute. My correction, I haven't even checked the chat yet. It was Nemesis, not Insurrection, but we are talking about the same movie.
Yes. Insurrections where he's trying to save those stupid aliens from
yeah. I said the wrong movie, and I just realized it, and I bet you Aaron corrected me, but I haven't checked yet.
Actually, he hasn't, but I'm sure that he's getting ready to. But no, it is Nemesis, and they took the Romulans and they made them into 2D caricatures of themselves. They really did, and it was like, this is nonsense.
You know what I did like, and this will be almost like a little mini review, because the thing I did like about Nemesis was when they murdered the Senate. That was pretty cool.
It would never happen that way. Number one. Number two is they're basically doing a rehash, right? Well, now instead of the Klingon moon blowing up, we're just going to have another a Romulan moon blow up. I mean, come on. It's.
Oh no shit! Isn't that Star Trek 4 or some shit? You're right, huh? God damn it!
All right. So it's even there. That's one of the reasons why I can't stand the TNG movies. None of them. They all sucked in many ways. They all sucked.
They were kind of rehashed versions of the TOS movies, right?
In some ways, yeah. I mean, when you think about it, the Insurrection, the one you mentioned earlier, is really kind of the whole V'ger, from the original one. Same type of generalities. They just they did approach it from a different angle. I'll agree with that. But it really it's basically the same V'ger story. I mean, they did a shit job with the movies. They really did. And as far as the reboot on Data, the way they did Data, let's be honest, they destroyed the whole character of Data.
Well,
they didn't know what to do with him.
Yeah, B4 can never be Data, and if they make him Data, that's even more of a cop out than the end of Nemesis, because that was a total cop out. They should have cut that end scene. Sorry, if you're gonna kill Data, have the balls to kill Data.
Oh yeah, and in fact, at least it would give you another starting point, right, for the next Star Trek. Okay, because then you can truly then take a Data-like character and then explore it, right? Where another artificial life forms are brought into it. Only now there's multiples, and they're constantly being referenced to Data. They're constantly being brought up with, this is who Data is. This is what Data was like. Look at how great Data is, and the whole dynamic with how they deal. Is Data a god to them? Is he a demi-for? What is Data? Their exploration, like, who is Data? There's so many things you could do with that, but no, they had to dumb Data down because they basically were worried that it was too OP.
Yeah, no, and I just hate it when movies cop out like that. I really do. Where they just go, we're going to kill the character. Like, okay, they killed Freddy Krueger. And at the end, they have his claw. Or no, they kill Jason. At the end, they have Freddy's claw come grab Jason's mask and pull it under. Cop out. Like, you know what I mean? They do it over and over again. It's annoying.
B4 became Data in the comics.
Yeah, either Izzy, who said that? God damn it.
Aaron did.
God damn it. I knew it. Son of a bitch. Yeah, I don't know. They are going to bring the cast back to wrap it all back around the Picard before we end the stream. So we are going to see these characters again, and I guess we will see Data instead of B4, it sounds like, right?
Well, it sounds like you're going to see, well, who knows what they're going to do. Data's death was a cheap ripoff of Spock's death in Wrath of Khan. No, it was just a horribly done episode. It was beyond cheap ripoff. It was just horrible, Darren. The problem with Data is Data never, unlike Spock was always struggling with his humanity. Okay? Data never actually attains it. It doesn't have the same impact. It really didn't have the same impact.
Yeah, no. And B4 was inherently flawed, so to just make him as good as Data all of a sudden and take away that extra port in his head, I bet, because I bet you they do that, you're just bringing Data back. You're killing Nemesis from the timeline. And if you do that, then there is no fucking upheaval in the Romulan Empire. So they probably could have dealt with the supernova and did their own evacuation, which then negates everything that happened in the fucking JJ verse, which then kills
which goes back to my comment about the freaking which goes back to my comment to begin with. These are supposed to be star empires. Why do we only see Romulans? Right? Why aren't the Romulans? What, they all just live on Romulus? No, they can't all live on Romulus. They got to have freaking planets all over the freaking place if they're going to have the kind of industrial capacity of the Federation. Otherwise, how do they ever beat the Federation? How are they ever a threat to the Federation if their home planet is the only planet that matters? I mean, it's just silly the way they treat these things. All right, just because the star of the home planet is getting ready to go supernova, if they're in a star empire, the people would just move. Granted, they would mourn the loss of their home planet, but to be honest, the way they set up the lore for that to begin with, the Romulans are an offshoot of Vulcans. They wouldn't have a problem moving to another planet because they came from another planet to begin with. More lens flare. They ran out of let's try it again. They ran out of ideas long ago for Star Trek. Star Trek is long dead. It's just a zombie now. Like I said, if they were really going to do something, they should end anything to do with Star Trek for 10 years and then let people try to re-envision Star Trek rather than trying to so they could write a story rather than just try to push an agenda.
Yeah, no, and you're right. Now that I think about it, why wouldn't they just move? And how did they not have more of a warning? And why did they need to call for Starfleet's help? None of this makes any fucking sense.
It doesn't. There's so much better dynamics that they could have added to it. I mean, one of the things you could bring into conflict with, let's say there's a group of aliens that pleads with Starfleet for help against the Romulans, and the Romulans come in saying, look, these are part of our empire, stay the hell out of them. We have to deal with this. This is an insurrection on a planet that we own. That's what insurrection should have been. Was how does Starfleet handle the fact that a group of aliens are saying we're trying to free ourselves from the domination of the Romulans? Help us. That would have been a dynamic to explore. Do they get involved? Do they not get involved? How do they deal with it? That would have been a way to go. But see, that's.
Well, no, and you could have.
Ajax comment. I, for one, am glad they killed Firefly after seeing what they did to Star Trek. That's Star Wars.
Well, no, and the thing is, though, they could have also still had the Data and Picard conflict that they had in Insurrection by having Data say, we need to help these people. And Picard trying to stick by the book. Right. Same type of situation.
Right.
But no, we're about at the end. You gonna do a morning show tomorrow?
Yep. Number of different things I've got on the docket to discuss, including the let's storm Area 51 because the Air Force has responded.
Yeah, it's a bad idea, I think is what they said.
Well, it's first of all, like I was saying, now I was listening to Styx talk a little bit about it today. He was like, "Oh, I would love to see them." They say they're going to be streaming it. There's not going to be any streaming. Okay, I just started laughing. It's like, you guys, why do you think there's going to be streaming of what's going on there? Do you realize
where it is? It's in the middle of nowhere, not a cell phone site.
Not just where it is. What they're going to do. Okay, there's things the military has that they're called jammers. Okay, there's not going to be any communications. if you get a group like that, those jammers are going to go in place, and then what are they going to do? You're not going to be able to send anything out. You're not going to be able to receive anything. You're not going to hear anything. All it's going to be is like, psh, that's the best you're going to do. So if they do then come in with Black Hawks, right, that are armed to the teeth, all right, along with a few AC-130 gunships to put the situation and end it, nobody's going to witness it. No one's going to see anything about it. You guys are making geeking out of fun.
But I don't know. I think it's a stupid idea, but more power to them. Have fun for the few seconds.
Yeah, that's just one of the things that I'm going to talk about. Sherardi gave me something to talk about. Elon Musk announced his plans to merge human brains with AI. That's another story that I got. So I just do general news in the morning. That's my idea. Things that catch my eye.
Yeah, everybody go check MC out at his channel, and it's conveniently named MC. Also, what is it? The Plague? That's your backup channel?
My backup channel is Mr. The Plague. Yes, I do have a backup channel for Mr. The Plague, but I don't do a lot on there. To be honest, that's just in case YouTube cancels my channel like they've done in the past. So,
thank you everybody for coming out, and hopefully we're back to a regular schedule. We'll see. Good night, good luck. Hey, don't go to France, and do not storm Area 51, you bunch of fucking idiots. Good night, America. Good night, Great Britain, and fuck off, rest of the world. We're out.